no matter how you put it. Emma Darnell used to tell me, if you want to be great, just serve. And I really believe that. You want to be the best anything. You want to be the best police officer, just serve. You want to be the best doctor, just serve. And once you get that instilled in your mind, you understand what your vision is and what your vision is going to be for your people. So service is number one in terms of government.
Greetings, my posse. Welcome to the Roundup with Rodney and Rodney. I'm Rodney J. Littles.
I'm Rodney Butler. Another week, Rodney. What we got, brother?
Oh, my brother. I've been on a merry-go-round ride up and down with the stock market, my brother. I'm hoping that folks' 401k sit tight because hopefully it'll come back. But if you need to do anything, put some cash in the bank, cash out.
Mm-hmm.
My
Might want to put,
goodness.
hey, Rodney, they might want to put some under the pillowcase.
I'm telling you, bro, it's been a roller coaster.
It's been a
Ride.
roller coaster. So,
And it's self-inflicted. Oh, my God.
hey,
Well, you know what?
But
We
look,
got
hey, look, you about to segue right into,
we got the
what
man to talk
what they
about
about to
this.
find out.
Oh, they're about to find out, man. Bobby Fryer from the Black Men's Roundtable with the find out phase. Come on, Bobby, what you got?
Hey, gentlemen, how y'all doing?
Good.
Hello to everybody listening to the show. This is the FAFO phase again, the Black Men's Roundtable. So that just dovetails right into what I wanted to talk about, chaos. And I don't know about you brothers as far as where you attend church, but the church that I grew up in, the Pleasant Grove Missionary Baptist Church in Marietta, Georgia, we talked about how God does not dwell where there's chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole dichotomy of electing this man to lead the country and then swearing up and down he's of the same faith just baffles me. Because this is someone that thrives on chaos. Chaos is what he's about. Throws the stones, hides his hands. That's what he does. So we're sitting here now with all this market volatility that's going on. Primarily, as you mentioned before, it's self-inflicted due to tariffs. I mean, quite frankly, that's what is shaking up the market, which is consumer confidence, being unsure of what's going to happen with these tariffs. And going back and forth with this trade war with two of our important allies with Canada and Mexico. So the 25% tariffs on steel and aluminum is supposed to take effect again tonight. We had, was it Alberta, I believe, that was threatening to an electricity hike on some of the states up close to them. I think New York. I can't recall which the other two were.
York, yeah.
Upstate New York, yeah. So then he wanted to come back and saying, okay, now we're going to go to 50%. And, eventually it's just gonna be looked at from other world leaders as this is a ploy. He does the same stuff all the time. He makes these threats, then he backs down. It's gonna be a lame negotiating tactic. All right, people can see through it now. You can't fool all the people all the time. So especially those that are leading countries, they're not stupid people. Okay, they see what's going on. They're gonna react the way they want to react to, and they have the ability themselves to say, okay, we're not gonna trade with the United States, or we're not going to sell their products. And who does that hurt? It hurts American farmers or American businesses in general. So it's that, you just wonder what's the end game to all of this. It's not intelligent. It's not something that's, oh man, it's so strategic and, oh man, they're not going to see what's coming. It's Mickey Mouse. To me, it's elementary type of stuff, which is what he thrives on. So, the market volatility, if you got your 401k, you're watching it just go wackadoodle right about now. Some people don't have money invested in the market as others do. Some people may not care, but eventually it is it's just one way of looking at how the economy overall is doing. Okay. And so that leads into talk I saw a couple of days ago about their real fears of a recession. And so this is not something that we experienced in the last administration. And I was one of those that continuously kept saying as we got closer to the election, the economy is fine. Everybody was, if you listen to voters, oh, the economy is bad. It's not working for me personally. Capitalism has never worked for everyone. You've heard me say that before. Capitalism has always run over people before. It's never worked for everybody. But trickle down economics doesn't help either. Okay. And we have so many people that continue to vote the same way and don't realize these policies do not help you. They don't help you individually if you are in these red states, or if you on government assistance. They don't help you. They don't help you get off government assistance. They don't help your businesses. So it's just funny how these things come full circle. And, again, where you can turn around and say FAFO. So I'll bring up Nebraska for an example, right?
Okay. Yeah.
The state of Nebraska is right now facing some serious issues with budget cuts. Primarily farmers are dealing with that. I didn't realize that Nebraska was number 3 in the country in terms of farmers' bankruptcies. Number 1 is California. Number 2 was Arkansas. And Nebraska sits at number 3. So it's interesting that some of the budget cuts that are affecting them are actually Medicaid budget cuts, amongst other things that are happening in their state, which is causing a serious crunch in their state budget. So you've got these things happening. But again, this is what you voted for. This is what you signed up for. So all of the talk about, fixing the economy. Notice what you don't hear. You don't hear anything about a wealth gap closing. You don't hear anything about minimum wage. You don't hear anything about the price of eggs. You don't hear anything about health care. You don't hear anything about increasing jobs in the United States. It's just all bluster. We're talking about things like, taking over Greenland and, how Panama is giving themselves up to China, which wasn't true. It's all these things that he has a way of basically taking something and repackaging it, the same thing that somebody else may have done, and just putting his name on. That's how he made his money, with name branding. That's how he got a lot of his wealth. Okay. So, or perceived wealth, whichever you want to call it. But this is how he did. This is how he moved. So you see people just falling for the okie doke, thinking that there's going to be something better coming along, and which I find funny because the bankrupter in chief is now leading us towards a recession, which we weren't headed towards there. So, and it's hilarious how now they want to already throw out there, if we go into a recession, it's the Democrats' fault. If we have a government shutdown, it's the Democrats' fault. So it's never their fault on anything that goes wrong, but take all the credit when something goes right. So that's the game plan. That's the way it's always been. It's transparent, but people, again, if people would stop being, and I'm going to use the word lazy, and do your own research about how things are, and not listening to just propaganda that people continue to push down your throat. Think for yourself. Go search a credible resource and make your own decisions. But it's just hilarious to me. And I am at the point where, and I've actually been at this point where it's kind of like, you know what? Whatever you're going to mess up, go right ahead, because this is what you voted for. You didn't want to listen. You want to act like you're surprised now about things that were written from Project 2025, and that he's actually implementing and enforcing, even though he said he didn't know anything about it. Oh, some of the things they're talking about are just crazy. But yet he's implementing exactly the agenda that he wants from Project 2025, or that others want. He's not pushing back and saying, no, we can't do this or that. So, and one last thing, they passed the House passed their budget bill today. So now it goes to the Senate. And again, once again, if it doesn't pass, they're going to blame the Democrats. So, you have to own something. You can't just always go around blaming somebody else for things that are bad and just accepting all the credit for when things are good. That's not how this works. It doesn't work that way in sports. Doesn't work this way in politics, okay? You can't give the quarterback all the credit when your offense is going well, and then when he throws 6 interceptions, you say, well, it's the offensive line's fault, or the receivers didn't get open. No, it doesn't.
Right.
It don't work that way. It don't work that way.
Bobby, you sound like a Falcons fan. Go ahead, Rodney.
Man.
Six interceptions. Yeah, okay. Go
Yeah,
ahead,
we're familiar with that.
Yeah, exactly. Me and you both.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you, Bobby. That was a good segue into getting into the new week.
Yeah.
Into the new week. I did jot down a couple of things, and Bobby, when you said that all the people had to do was listen to, the voters, listen to, you know what? All they had to really do were listen to the economists.
Yeah.
Because the economists said
they told you
right before the election, right before November, many credible economists said out of their own mouths that whichever person become president will have a great economy.
Inherit a good economy.
That's good economy. So that's they would even
at the time.
Exactly. They wouldn't even listen to the economists. So, but you know me, I never thought that it was ever about the economy, stupid. Y'all know me. Y'all already know the deal. And the other thing is that, you know what, though, Bobby, you brought up something I didn't know about this, about the as far as the farmers, as far as, bankruptcies. Right. But listen, at least Arkansas don't have this. Nebraska doesn't have this, more than likely. I haven't done the research, but I bet you California, they have the subsidies to be able to help out their farmers. Yeah. Because they give more money than they take from the government. And the last thing I had jotted down, you know what, and you said it twice, Bobby. You talked about, how the Democrats shouldn't let, the Republicans, blame them for stuff. Well, here's my thing. Democrats, put down the freaking paddles and open up your mouth and start doing something about it. Because you keep holding the little paddles, okay, they're going to point right to those paddles and say, put down your church fan, okay? But anyway, that's all I got, brother. Thank you, Bobby, as always. On
point, man. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.
Have a good rest of the week, man.
You do the same.
Outstanding, brother. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
Bless. Well, Rodney, we have Mr. William Bill Edwards, who was elected as the first mayor of the new city of South Fulton on April 18, 2017. He garnered 60% of the vote. Former Mayor Edwards is no stranger to service. For 14 years, he tirelessly served the citizens of South Fulton as the District 7 Commissioner, representing residents of unincorporated South Fulton, College Park, East Point, Fairburn, Hayeville, Union City, Palmetto, Chattahoochee Hills, and a portion of Southwest Atlanta. As a resident of South Fulton for over 30 years, he understands that in order to be an effective servant, you must be attuned to the needs and concerns of your constituents. He is an illustrious member of the Morehouse College class of 1972, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, and a 1980s graduate from Atlanta School of Law. He is a member of the Cascade United Methodist Church. Welcome, former Mayor Bill Edwards and former Commissioner William Bill Edwards. Oh, welcome, Bill. Welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. You
Good
guys,
to
Rodney and Rodney. The dynamic
Rodney
duo.
B and Rodney L.
Yes, sir. Pleasure to have you on, Mr. Mayor. Pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir.
It is, right. It definitely is. Well, listen, full disclosure, when I first moved to the Atlanta area, I was living in unincorporated South Fulton, and Commissioner Bill Edwards was my commissioner. I got to learn a little bit about local politics by him being my commissioner because he communicated with us. So I appreciate that, Bill. So tell us, give us a little bit of background about yourself, where you're from, what prompted you to go to Morehouse and pledge Alpha Phi Alpha.
Yeah. Well, I'm originally from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I was born and raised there, and I went to Dillard High School in that area. And it's going to be funny when I tell you this, but when I decided to go to college, an old guy who played in the Negro Leagues by the name of Chin Evans, believe it or not, he put me in a car, took me to Morehouse, dropped me off on the steps of Morehouse, and left me. I'm hundreds of miles away from home. And when he came out, he says, okay, you got it. And so I got it to Morehouse. So I decided since I'm been hijacked, I might as well stay. But
Nice.
that's really how I got there. And
Wow.
actually, when I was coming to college, all of my basketball coaches and everything, they were all Kappas. All right,
Okay.
and we had a group of guys at high school that were known as the Psi Cats. And these guys were going, when we leave high school, we're going to play as Kappa in college.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got to Morehouse and I saw the light and I played as Alpha. And the funny thing about it, only two of us in that group actually played anything, and both of us played
Okay.
Alpha. Yeah,
All
both of us
right.
played.
All right. I got you.
That's
I
kind of
got you.
how we got in there with the whole Morehouse thing. I love
I
Morehouse
got you.
College. I think HBCU education
All
is one of the
right.
greatest education you can get.
Yes, sir.
Amen. Amen. Well, welcome. Well, listen. So, tell us a little bit about you staying in the Atlanta, Georgia area. What prompted you to stay after graduation, or did you?
Now, Rod, you got to remember now, I grew up under segregation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Florida. Yes.
it wasn't nice in South Florida, okay?
I heard
So
that, bro.
so when I got here
Hmm.
and saw black mayors and
Hmm.
black insurance companies and black folks doing things in government, I mean, I was like, wow.
Yep.
And so that kind of urged me to say, well, this is the place I need to be. Because, South Florida was really segregated during the
Gotcha.
time that I was there.
So now, what profession did you choose to go into before you got into politics?
Well, I had a lot of jobs. But each job helped me to be who I am today.
Okay.
And I was with Echo Drugs for a while,
Okay.
and then I finally wind up doing 30 years with Allstate Insurance.
Oh, okay.
And during the time I was with Allstate Insurance, Brad, you may remember I became the president of the Old National Merchants Association,
Okay. Yes,
and
sir.
hence my trek into politics.
Got
But
it.
after doing that, uh, and becoming good friends with former Commissioner Michael Hightower,
Okay.
uh, I learned a lot. And it was time for Mike. When it was time for Michael to leave, it was almost like, well, you got to take it. So that's how I kind of got into the whole issue of county commissioner.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So tell me, what was your experience like becoming a commissioner and particularly the region that you serve?
Yeah, I'm glad you used the word service because government is about service and nothing else.
Yep.
No matter how you put it, Emma Darnell used to tell me, if you want to be great, just serve. And I really believe that. You want to be the best anything. You want to be the best police officer, just serve. You want to be the best doctor, just serve. And once you get that instilled in your mind, you understand what your vision is and what your vision is going to be for your people. So
Right.
service is number one in terms of government.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So, unincorporated, you were over that for a while before it became a city. What were some of the challenges that you saw that the southern region faced while you were commissioner?
Well, equity is always one.
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, so people talk about the North and South.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was an issue of equity. Trust me. And the SSD, as we call it, which is a special service district, that was really unique. And let me paint the picture for you. You were the people who were in Fulton County proper. Their money went to the general fund for Fulton County. Those who were in the special service districts, we so-called had a different budget. But remember this, you cannot intermingle SSD money with general fund money.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so after a while, I'll tell you the story that came out about that. When I first became commissioner, you would know that our police department and everything was in Fulton County buildings, downtown, on Prior Street and whatsoever. But I did not know, what I found later was the SSD was paying $49 a square foot to be in those buildings. And I couldn't comprehend that we're all Fulton County. Why am I paying this kind of money to be in a building? And that was the rationale. You know, if you go, this is the general fund building, so you got to pay. So what I did, Rodney, was ask, well, can you give me a break on the price? You know, let's go down. Can you go down to $35 or something?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that for a while. They said no, but I made them a promise. I said there will be U-Hauls at the front door pretty soon.
Mm.
And I went down, moved the police out of that particular facility. I found the facility on Fulton Industrial Boulevard that they use now,
Mm.
and I paid $10 square foot.
That's what I'm talking about. That was the industrial district, right?
Yeah, and I moved everybody in, and
Nice.
so we're off and running because we pay for our own police, we pay
Right.
for our own fire. You've been in SSD a long time. You know
Right.
that we tax ourselves since we're unincorporated. We taxed ourselves for those services.
So the city services that we were when we were unincorporated was paid into this special services district fund to pay for our fire, police, parks, and all of that stuff.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
However, comes the conversation of cityhood,
Mm-hmm.
which paints it in a different picture.
Mm-hmm.
To give you a classic example, I was spending my budget for the SSD was something like $54 million. I find it to be very peculiar that when we became cityhood, that went up to about 95. So the next question I asked was, where's the rest of my money? where did my where did my money go? All right. And so of course, I never got repaid. But we started our own thing, and that helped us to get us to where we need to be today.
Well, some people, Bill, you don't mind me calling you Bill, do you?
You've been calling me Bill all my life. Go ahead.
Bill, some folks have been on next door and chirping on the Facebook about we need to become unincorporated again. I think you just hit the nail on the head about the dollars, but what would you tell those people?
You can't afford it, but you're doing
Mm-hmm.
better than you're gonna do right now. If all you have to do right now is to stabilize what you got and have a strategy in place that will keep this particular government going forward for the next 20, 30, 40 years. It won't get any better. I'll be very honest with you. When I became mayor, I had a phone call from some other elected officials in Atlanta that said, why don't you just help us to move unincorporated into Atlanta? And my question was, why would I do that? They said, because we'll be assured of a black mayor, that we have the next black mayor if we pull you guys in the city. Well, that's not
See?
a real good, that's not a real good reason. And what came out of it, you got a black mayor anyway.
Yep.
All right. So I think that we're in the best position that we can be in as a city, gives us more opportunity and gives us more money. But let me caution you. My grandmother used to tell me all the time, a fool and his money will part.
Yep.
So we have to be very, very careful about when I came into the new city, Rodney, the first year I had a $6 million budget deficit. All right. Which kind of look, it's the first
Mm-hmm.
city. When I left,
Mm-hmm.
I had I was $68 million to the good.
Mm.
Now, I want you guys to imagine this. Here's Bill that was just fresh off of being a county commissioner, jumped into a race to be mayor, the first mayor of South Fulton, and I won. But guess what happened to me the next morning, guys?
What?
I got up. I had no place to go.
Mm.
Oh,
I had no office. I
oh,
had no phone.
oh,
I had no police. I had no fire.
That's
I
right.
had nothing. I said, "Oh my God, what the heck have I got myself
That's
into?"
right. That's right. Because the
So,
county was handling all of the city services at that time.
but we had to, yeah, but you had to enter into an agreement with them first. So the day
Ah,
I
to
woke up, we
trans.
didn't have no agreement.
They had no agreement. Oh Lord.
We didn't have an agreement. Thank God that they went on and did a few things for us. And of course, let me tell you, the agreements that we had with the county was all in the county's favor.
Mm,
All right.
mm,
That's why we were able to relieve ourselves of public safety agreements in 11 months, because it didn't make a whole lot of sense for us to continue to pay the county for something that was charging us almost double for when we could provide for ourselves. But I had nothing, guys. I mean, I had, talking from the bottom of the barrel and scraping to do what you have to do, getting
Mm.
into agreements and talking real fast. That's what you had to do. And I tell people all the time, when I was with the county commission, that's an established government.
right.
I went in there and I became commissioner. I sat at the desk. I had my staff, and we were ready to go. But
Hmm.
being here, I just governed out of my car.
I understand. I understand. So so
So
so
Rodney,
how
Rodney, let
was
me
the,
let me let me say
go
something real
ahead.
quick that is
Go ahead, Rod.
worth
Go ahead. Of
this is worth
course.
repeating, man.
Please.
What was that?
Mr. Mayor, I'm saying this is worth repeating. I just have to
Yeah,
hear this again. You came in with a $6 million deficit
yeah,
and left with a $68 million surplus.
that's correct.
Okay, that was worth repeating, Rodney. Go ahead, brother.
And
Hmm.
and it, and it I mean, other things we had to do. There's something in government where, and most governments do. Rod, you may be familiar with this. It's called, when we get our taxes every year, right?
Mm-hmm.
We use those taxes to pay for things we need for that time, right? But even more so with the new city, those taxes are going to expire before the next year. So there was something called a tax anticipation note. Like I said, it don't mean you're broke. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're broke. So we said, okay, let's apply for a tax anticipation note. Uh, I was worried. Number one is we were like that new child of yours in the house who wanted to get a car, and it's like you got no credit.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have anything. So we'll give it to you, but we'll have to charge you a higher interest rate.
Hmm. Higher
Well,
risk.
yes, we were at risk, but thank God we did a $17 million tax anticipation note at 2%.
Mm.
Go on, Mr. Man.
At 2%. Now,
Okay.
here's something even greater than that. We paid that stuff off ahead of time.
Really? Save the
Yeah.
city money.
So understand what I'm telling you guys. You know, I was $6 million in the hole. All right. But I still got to run this. I have to run this government until the new tax money comes in. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
It
sir.
does, technically, you're not really broke, but you got to have something until the new money comes in from the taxes. And that's what we did. We took it, we borrowed it, and we paid it back, and then we went forward. So it was a lot of things you had to do a little bit different from what you
Right.
used to
Being a
as
new
being
city. Yeah.
in the county.
Right. Right. Exactly. Big difference. Big difference. So, what was what was it like transitioning those departments from the county to city control?
Can you say hell?
You can't. It's a podcast, bro.
A lot of things, listen, you got to transfer the buildings in, right? Well, all those buildings were not in great shape. All right. When we transferred the police in, we had four ladder trucks, right? They were averaging 20 over 20 years old.
Wow.
We had police cars, some of them was over 200,000 miles on. All right. So and of course now, we had no money, right? We $6 million in the hole. So you had to hold on to this stuff till you got somewhere. And and then you have to deal with the contract aspect of everything. Uh, we in contract negotiation between us and the county, we were probably in a bad position. I mean, they had everything, we had nothing, and we had to make sure that we provide the services for our citizenry. So we were at the mercy on a lot of stuff that we had to take, but we were blessed not to take it for long.
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. I'm assuming that our commissioner at the time was very helpful in that transition.
Yes, yes, doing the best you can to get things done. And so I got to tell you something else, Rodney. The other thing was we had to do those things that would bring us money. Do you remember Fulton Industrial Boulevard? Fulton Industrial Boulevard was a part of the SSD. When they became a city, Fulton Industrial Boulevard was not drawn into our city.
That's correct.
That's a total of about somewhere in the area of $9 million. The largest industrial corridor in the Southeast region, right?
It's to the Mississippi.
But we were drawn. It was drawn out of our city,
Mm-hmm.
so we did not feel that was right. So what I did was, see, one thing about me, every first week of every year, I met with the governor at his request. All right, the first week I'd go down and I would speak with the governor. And one thing people have to understand: it ain't about being black or white or being Republican or Democrat. Sometimes issues are between man and man. And once we start injecting a whole lot of other stuff, there's time to inject that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. But when we started injecting other stuff, it clearly gets us away from why we are there. All
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So, that we had tried and they had vetoed this thing before. All right. So when I went in to talk to him about it, his words were, "Bill, do what you can because I don't want to veto." Now, what does that mean? That means you got to get with
Negotiate.
you got to get with Atlanta,
Yep.
Fulton County,
Yep.
York unincorporated,
Yep.
and the city of Atlanta.
Correct.
Now you mix all that up and tell me what you come up with.
Ooh, chaos.
It was so what we had to do was we went through some stuff. We had, I can say this about Fulton County schools.
Mm.
Fulton County schools gave up $10 million to join my plan. All right, because they felt it was the right thing to do. $10 million. And Fulton County said, "I just want the airport." Well, God bless you, because I don't want no airport.
Mm-mm.
I'm not conditioned for no airport.
Mm-mm.
And of course, Atlanta kept holding on to the fact that we need a bigger piece of the pie. Right. So when we got to the point where we come close to negotiation, Atlanta still held steadfast, and I went to the governor. I said, "Listen, we got 3 people who agree. Can we just move on?" He
Right.
said, "No, Bill, you got to. I want you to get them all." So I went back to the table. Now you remember Senator Halpern?
Yes.
During the time, Senator Halpern was the only person we had in that time in the legislature.
That covered our area.
Donzella was
Yep.
out for the term.
Right.
Our other senator was out for the term. All right, she was a rookie,
Yes.
but she did such an outstanding job in terms of negotiating, help us to get Fulton Industrial
I
Boulevard.
remember. I remember. I was in
So
Rogers' office. I remember.
yeah, so we met again, and I said, "Listen,
Okay.
I put this on the table, right? And I just knew it wasn't going nowhere, but I put it on I put it on the table anyway. I said, "Listen, you take from I-20 back to Hamilton home.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take from I-20 all the way the other way. It passed.
Oh, yes. Remember?
It passed
Yeah.
just that simple. Now, what was the big
Yeah.
argument? Here's how I got the governor and everybody to understand what it was about. Do you know that Fulton Industrial Boulevard was paid for by the unincorporated citizens of this county?
Thank you.
That was our money.
Thank you.
Why are you taking our money when we paid for it? That was the most impressive argument. All right.
Yep.
And to say
Yep.
thank God now we won, added $9 million to the coffers, and hopefully we'll preserve it and use it widely today.
Well, you bring up an interesting point. Rodney and I be talking about relationships and how important it is in getting things done. While you may have been a new mayor, you've been around a while, so you had built up some relationships. I'm segueing to the issue of the charter. There's very specific guidelines on what the authority of the mayor has under the charter. But
Sure.
what does it take to be successful as mayor under this charter?
Collaboration, respect, and in the collaboration you will form your relationships. Guys, let me tell you this. As a leader, there's three things you're gonna need, especially in a new city like we had. One was relationships, very important. Very, very important. The other is experience to go along with it. The third one is once you got the integrity, not the integrity. Once you got those two things, then you look at the motivation, the how do we get it done, all right? And lastly, but not least, you need the people. That's a big problem right there. See, our people sometimes they don't get to they don't get to say what they want to say because they only got 3 minutes in front of the board of commissioners or in front of the board here in South Fulton or any other city. But you really got to have an opportunity for them to really say what's on their mind. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that all of them ain't gonna be right. All of them gonna have self-interest in mind, and we have to make sure that we let them know that their interests are selfish. But if you don't have the community, a learned community is the best community you can ever have. They work with you, they side with you, and they get things done. So you got to have that maturity, uh, the relationships. Got to have the people if you're going to get it done. Now the
Yep.
charter, let's
Yes.
understand. The charter is the Bible of the city. Why is it so hard? I mean, God says don't do this. You know, don't do it. All right. Stop trying to make it say something that it's really not saying. Stop trying to look for loopholes. So you know what the responsibility of the mayor is? You got three major responsibilities. You're the face of the city, you're the voice of the city, and the only real power you have is the veto. Now you can transform that. We are a weak form of mayor, but if you're trying to get the relationship that you need to have, you can be a quasi strong mayor,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be through preparation. It has to be through relationships you have with the city council.
Yep.
City council, city council are the policy makers.
Yes, sir.
The manager does what their title says. She manages this government. Did you know if you were a council person, if I was a council person, and you say work for Public Works, either one of y'all, and I say Rodney, I want you to go over there and do this and that. You know I just violated the charter. An elected official cannot give direction to an employee.
Should not, cannot are two different things.
I'm just saying what the book says.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying how I've been watching,
The
you know.
Bible, the Bible says a lot of things, but y'all still do it.
That's
I'm
right.
just
That's
saying.
right. That's right.
I'm just saying that's what
Right.
it shouldn't happen.
I
You know,
got you.
it's just three forms of government. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, if you're paying somebody to run the government, let them run it.
Right.
All right.
Right.
If I got a concern, I'm gonna go to you because you're the one who we are elected to have, and you need to have some answers for me. You know. So in a real world,
Hmm.
in the real world, everything's equal. A council person comes in, has a meeting, make policy, and go home. That's a real world.
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
sometimes we get away from that.
Yeah.
Uh, but they have done a good job, in a lot of ways here in South Fulton County. The council has, and I don't knock that. And I don't want to be too much on them because that's not what I'm here for.
No.
I'm just telling you that the road to get here, because the first time I was not for the city, and I continue to tell people that they don't have to ask me. No, I was not for. Why weren't you, Bill? You were not ready.
Oh, that was back in 2008, I think.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And Fulton County does SSDs better than anybody.
Mm.
So now let's go back and let's start all over and see what we come up. And they came back with a magnificent plan, a magnificent group of people. They had white papers, they had committees. You were around, Rodney.
Hmm.
All that was there. I was
Yep.
impressed, and I jumped on board with them. And hence today we have the city of South Fulton. I don't take credit for doing it. I was just a part of it.
Oh
So
yeah. Absolutely.
I was just a
Absolutely.
part of put my little piece in.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Mm.
So now, did you during your term? Did you meet with the city manager to stay on top of what was happening in the city and what?
Every Wednesday morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
Every
thought that was
Wednesday
part
morning
of the charter.
I
Yeah.
met with the city manager,
Hmm.
I met with the attorney,
Hmm.
and I met with the clerk.
Okay. Because you were chairing the meetings, right? So you had to know what was going on.
Well, not only that, there were other responsibilities you have that you have to set the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
we would meet basically to set the agenda.
Okay.
All right. And once I set the agenda, uh what I would do is send that agenda to every council person.
Right.
Of course you're gonna get back, well, why are my issues not on here? Well, it ain't ready. All right.
Mm.
Or
Hmm.
it's not the time for it, or whatever the case may be. So
Hmm.
you said this. So they have time to call me and say, Bill, I don't think that's right for me not to have the proper time. So it
Hmm.
gives them yeah. And so when you having a meeting, guys, we're voting on stuff, right?
Hmm.
If in fact, do you think I agree with everything that was voted on?
No.
Hell no. But what happened was, once that meeting is over, and all of the bills that they approved come to my office, right? I got 10 days to sign. But I usually sign off on the ones that I was going to sign off on uh within the second day. Because it doesn't matter. If I don't agree with it, I have a right not to sign
Okay.
it. Because it's gonna be law anyway.
Oh, I see. If you don't
If
sign it,
I, if I
okay.
don't sign it, it automatically goes into law.
Okay. Okay.
Same thing with vetoes. I had 5 vetoes in the 4 years I was there. Of all the 5 vetoes I had, I only lost one. And they've had a bunch of them since my left, but I've only lost one because that it takes 5 votes to override the veto. So that
Seven.
means I was instrumental in having a relationship with those who were there enough to make them see that maybe this is I hear what you're saying, but this might be a better way to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they the most famous was the name. Remember?
Yes. Oh boy.
The
Yes. Changing the
name
name.
of the city that's the most famous veto we've had
Yes.
when they voted to have city name become Renaissance.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad for me, you know what I mean? It's a Renaissance, new birth, you know, all this kind of stuff. And but the citizens didn't like it. And they let me know overwhelmingly that they didn't like it. And so I put in a veto and it passed. Now, here's another known fact. You can change the name of the city of South Fulton anytime you get ready. Because you remember we didn't have a name. So I plugged in South Fulton because people identify.
Right.
It's not my job to give it a name.
Right.
It's the job of the people to decide
Right.
if that's what they want. And we need to have a name as we begin to negotiate other things that cities negotiate.
Correct.
All right.
Yes.
So they can change that name
Yes.
anytime they get ready. There's
Gotcha.
nothing to mandate them that they got to keep it. But I guess they like it, so we keep it. And right along now, it probably costs a whole lot of money to change
Ooh, yes. Of course.
it.
Signage and
So
all that. Right.
maybe they'll stay with it. But that I wanted to say that because a lot of people didn't understand that it was not after we had vetoed Renaissance, we did not vote this as our official name.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was basically what was adopted through the legislation for the referendum.
Well, no. I mean, we need to be called something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Exactly.
mean, once you got rid of the Renaissance, we just stuck in South Fulton
Right.
because you know when you look at the charter, it
Right.
says South Fulton.
Correct.
You know, so
Right.
we just kind
Yes.
of stuck with that. But ladies and gentlemen, you can change it
You can
anytime you
always
get
change it. Right. 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 Right.
ready.
I got you. I
You
got
know, it's not a Bill Edwards thing. It's
you.
all
I
about the
know. I
people.
know. Well, we're getting close to a close here.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit of your perspective? You were part of the uh, Charter Review Commission, correct?
Yes.
Tell me what your experience was in that. You were not mayor when you won the Charter Commission, correct?
No, I was not.
Okay. So you met with some citizens who were appointed to the commission,
We were
came up with
appointed.
some
We were appointed. We were appointed by every council person got an appointment.
and some state representative or state senator.
We didn't have no, we didn't have any state representative, state senators. No,
Okay, no
you
appointments
know.
from them. Okay.
But it's a requirement of the charter
Yes.
that at some point in time that we must have a charter review committee to talk and make any changes that
Yeah.
were necessary.
It was 5 years after the city was formed, I understand.
5 years after the city was formed.
Right. So tell me what came out of that you feel the city should strongly consider going forward.
Well, I'm going to be very honest with you, Rodney, and the people who are on the committee would probably tell you the same thing. It was a waste of our time.
Why so?
They never even talked about uh, bringing in any of the comments that we had.
What?
No, they didn't. Uh, we were told that from the state that well, the things y'all want to do, they can do anyway. Well, if they could do it anyway, why are we here? I think we were there to fulfill an obligation, and that obligation was to have this committee, and it's supposed to be done by charter. So we fulfilled our obligation. I think we had some good things. Some of the things were not so. It was controversial, like having at-large commissions. Yeah, that was one. One thing that I did like, I thought they would approve, was the requirements for residency. All right, because we've had so many problems about people saying that they lived in the city, but people saying they didn't. So we had a policy that we adopted on that committee that I think would have cut down on some of that conversation as to whether people had the proper residency to run for office in the city.
And
But
that's
at the end of the day, we didn't get anything.
mm. So some of that stuff like that could have been approved by the council and the mayor.
That's what they say.
Mm.
That's what they say. I
Gotcha.
mean, we to prove a lot of things. You have something called. There's some things that cities can do because of their privilege. All right. As long as it doesn't implicate the charter or state law.
Right.
If it's something's a charter, it's affecting charter, you must change the charter.
At the state.
And let me say this to you: the charter is a creature of the state.
Correct. Correct.
Just like the state gave you the charter,
Yep.
they could take the charter away. I hope that never happens, and I don't think it will.
Right.
But I just want people to understand that
Good point.
it is all cities, even our great Atlanta. All cities are creatures of the state.
Wow. Gotcha. Excellent.
Yeah.
So my closing questions before I turn it over to my brother, Rodney B. What do you see for the future of the city of South Fulton?
You got to check off 3 blocks: maturity. You got to check off. The other one was experience, and you got to check off collaboration. Or let me just put it this way: let's not say collaboration. Let's say your ability to work with other governments. Those are 3 things that's got to be checked off. And as you do that, if you can check those 3 things off, you can work with. See, one thing about it, you can define rules, all right, and responsibilities, but you got to abide by them. And how do you abide by them? The charter. The charter says don't do that. Then that means don't do that, unless you make a petition to change something in the charter, and that becomes a big problem. Well, here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to have to go to the state government and say, well, I want you to open the charter up because I want to change some things. That might not be in your best interest.
Because they could change some things too.
Let's say, you go. Y'all figure it out. But you don't want to open that charter up because who we got in the state house. It look just like the federal government. All right. So you need to leave that alone. Let's fly with what we got and just honor what we got. And the other thing is, people got to understand. You know who voted on that charter?
That's right.
The people did.
It was a rough
Not the 7 council people.
No.
The people voted on that charter. Yeah. I mean, you were there. You know how it went through all the iterations and stuff. And then once it was done, we put it on the ballot. Am I right?
That's correct.
And then it was the people who voted for that charter.
Correct.
So that charter belongs to them.
Yeah. Yeah. It was 2/3.
Yes, 2/3. Okay. So
gotcha.
I think we can do things. I think we're doing a lot of things in South Fulton. We got some council people who are great. And I just think that we just need to tweak it a little more. We got to check those 3 boxes off. And then we can move forward.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Rodney B, bring us home.
Rodney B.
Mr. Mayor, that was great. Outstanding. Just a lesson. You basically gave us a civics lesson. And around here, we're always looking for somebody to give us somebody to bring a civics lesson to the table. And I know people get tired of our civics lessons, maybe, but maybe they're not right now because of what's going on. But you basically gave a great civics lesson in your. Go ahead, sir.
Jasmine always talks about that on the federal level. Yes. About civics.
Jasmine Crockett, yes.
Yeah, she always talking about civics. Some of y'all missed your civics lesson.
Yes.
And of course, things like that we don't teach in school anymore, but we have to remind.
There's a reason I tell people all the time, there's a reason they stopped teaching civics and economics in high school. And it was right around, when I was in high school, I believe is when they kind of started really cutting that stuff in the late 80s. That was when they really, I still remember my civics teacher, the name, and my economics teacher in high school. So that's how important it was to me. But anyway, like I said, appreciate the civics lesson in talking about, your journey through through your political life and even through your personal and collegiate life and all of that. It was a great lesson. I will say one thing that stood out is more not a question, it's more or less a, when you talked about to be a servant.
Right.
I love when we have political figures, elected officials, past and present, come on and talk about being servants. And not only did you talk about being servants, but you also you also utilize an example of service that I like to use when you talked about the police. You brought the police in there. I said, okay, let me write this down, right? Because that's right up my alley. And I remind people, I believe there's something like 19,000 individual police departments, in the United States, ran just separately and, differently. But I tell people, I can't prove this, but I almost guarantee you, if you were to look on their cars, you're going to see serve and protect.
Right.
Not protect and serve.
Right.
But when you hear the average citizen talk, they'll say, well, the police are there to protect and serve. And I'll say, yeah, they're there to serve and protect. It just goes right over their head. Because you flip those words. Words means a lot to me. And if you and so you were, it was just spot on, Mr. Mayor, when you talked about service, and that's the example I use, and I use that with the police departments. And just as quick as you'll pull somebody over and give them a speeding ticket, you pull them over and help them change that tire or whatever the situation may be, or you get the help for them to do it or whatever, or ask them, are they okay? But serve and protect, serve. So service. Thank you for that, sir.
Well, let me just say this now as a closure for me.
Yes, sir.
The destiny of your government is not lying in the hands of 7 people. And let me clarify that. We have meetings to discuss the land use plan. We have to discuss all of our plans that we have that we're going to be implementing, right? People got to start going to the meeting. And let me give you a classic example. If you're not in the land use plan and 7 people show up, 7 people have guided your destiny. So when it comes down to you building something and you jump up and say, oh, you can't put that there. I don't like that. Well, where were you when the meeting was going on? Maybe we could have done something a little different had we had your input. People have got to start getting up and be a part of government. This whole thing about, well, they're going to do what they want anyway, that does not apply all the time. They should never do what they want. So I just want to set that out there because I know that's been a big problem for our council and other councils around the world, around the country or whatever, that people will not attend and take control of their own government.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that. If you're not at the table, you might be on the menu.
You own the menu. You you own the menu.
You're on the menu.
You're on the menu. You ain't at the table. You're on the menu.
On that point, the next meeting is Monday, March 31st at 6:30 p.m. at Walker Park. So put it on your calendar, folks. You got time to schedule it. March 31st, 6:30 p.m. at Walker Park at 4255 Will Lee Road, City of South Fulton.
And call your council person. Don't listen to what somebody said about the council person. If there's an issue, go to the council person. Right. And then let him tell you. All right? Because that goes on a lot too.
Good point.
A lie will go around the world before truth puts its pants on.
Yes, sir.
Good point. Appreciate that, Bill. That's called wisdom. Oh, before we close, where can folks find you and track you down on Wednesdays?
Oh, on my podcast?
Yes, sir.
On Wednesdays. It's called Wisdom Wednesdays. WCEG Network. Facebook, Roku, LinkedIn, YouTube, all that. All right.
What time?
We start at 6 o'clock, and we close out at 7. Now, here's the thing I have to tell you about. My show, we don't talk politics. Good. I don't want to even get into that.
No. What we do? Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
the wisdom Wednesday was about imparting information on you about things that you necessarily would not have. I mean, the only person that had, Steele was on my program one time. I said, Steele, now you know I got this button. 'Cause you know, Mr. Steele get on there, he started talking about the movement and all that kind of stuff. I said, I
Mm-hmm.
got this button now. So you better be mindful of what you say. But that's kind of the concept of what I do.
Okay.
I've had the mayor of New Orleans, the former mayor of New Orleans on there, and other really high profile people that's been on the show. Now next week I'm trying to have Vanjie Watkins. You remember Vanjie, don't you?
Oh yeah, Sister Vanjie.
Just to give us a perspective of what was
Yeah, yeah.
and
She
how
just
we
had her
get
90th birthday. Yeah.
just had her 90th birthday. You're absolutely correct. So we don't
That's
want
right.
to lose that knowledge either. So we're gonna
No.
get Vanjie on the show to
Good.
talk to us
Good.
about her experience and being a
Excellent.
singer. Hmm.
So we'll look for you. Thank you
Okay.
again, Bill. Appreciate your time. William Bill
Thank you
Edwards.
guys. Rodney
Absolutely.
and Rodney.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Dynamic duo.
And on the Roundup.
Well, listen, I've seen your show before.
Okay.
I saw the commission lady, uh Khadijah. I saw
Mm-hmm.
that one.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
think you had Estevez on that one there, right?
State Senator.
Yeah.
Yes, last
A
yes.
I
couple
was
couple of
very
weeks ago, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I was very impressed with him. Very,
Good.
Yeah.
very impressed with him because he made the point that all government is local.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
People gonna understand that one day.
Yes.
But
Amen. Oh
I
Lord,
think he
yes.
made a clear point in
Yes,
this
he did.
conversation.
Yes, he
But
did.
thank you, gentlemen, so much.
All
Thank
right.
you,
No, we
Mr.
I
Mayor.
appreciate you
appreciate.
joining us.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna have y'all on. I'm gonna have y'all on WCG.
Bring us on. Bring us
We
on.
there. We there.
Yes, sir.
Well, you don't tell me because the Lord's sitting in here.
I know that's right.
All right.
All right,
God
sir.
bless you, man. Be
God
well,
bless
Thank
you.
you
Bill.
so much, guys. Appreciate
All
you.
right. We
Appreciate you.
All right.
enjoyed you, man.
Mhm.
All
All
right
right.
now. Another great guest.
Yeah, absolutely, man. A lot of wisdom. A lot of wisdom.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. Well, right. We got maybe about 10, 15, we may have about 15 minutes because I know you want to get to your hot topic. So,
Yeah. We talked about this a little bit, man. You know, it's funny. When, when this popped up on the news, I
mm-hmm.
was thinking, man, I done written $200 worth of speeding tickets for my wife going through. I hope she don't see this. My wife going through the speed trap at one of the schools during school time because she goes in the
Oh,
morning.
yeah.
She said, I don't go that way no more. I said, no, you don't. So we're going to talk about this speed trap, so-called cameras in the school corridors. It was a hot topic up at the Capitol
Yes.
this last week or
Yep.
so. My state representative, Robert Dawson, took to the floor to support one of the bills. What they wanted to do was modify it. There were two different bills. One was HB 225, which would have banned the cameras altogether. Boom,
Mm-hmm.
gone. And then there was HB 651, which would have included some strict guidelines to make it a little less onerous. Both the bills passed over to the Senate before crossover. So we're going to see what the Senate does. But to give you an idea, what it would have done, what 651 would have done, it would have kept the law on the books, however, it would have modified it. One of the things it would have done was it would have required those speed back signs that when you're approaching a speed trap, it tells you how fast you're going. You know, it shows the speed limit and then it flashes what your actual speed is. That's going to be required if this bill passes. And then they wanted half the proceeds to go to the school district budget, which doesn't go there now. None of that money goes there now. And then the other two major changes were the unpaid tickets, unpaid tickets currently. They go to the tag office because you know when you get a speed, they get your license plate.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to register your car, you got to pay that speed ticket. You follow? Going through the school zone. What they're proposing to do is to remove that in Bill 651 from the tag office knowing about it and being able to collect it when you register your car. So that's a big change. And then the last piece was that it's going to limit the use of the cameras for 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in the afternoon. That's basically, you know, what the guidelines are for the bill that that keeps the program, if you will. But, Rodney, you know that anytime something like this is going on, you got to follow the money,
Yes,
right?
sir.
All right. So over the last 4 years, $700,000 in lobbying funds donations have flooded through the Capitol. 700 grand. They collected, or recorded in 1 year, $200 million in fines statewide. 50 million of it goes to the company that controls the cameras, that provides the cameras, as their fee. So what that tells me is there's a lot of money involved in this. And I do know that the city of South Fulton was one of the top money winners in the use of this technology. So that's where we are with that, man. Did you ever get caught up in one of them traps going through a school? Well, I guess you don't want to talk about that. But yes, I did have the experience at least once. But it seems to me that what we need to be able to look at on this is the upside. My state rep, Robert Dawson, made the point that it's a safety issue, particularly for young kids. And at Sandtown Elementary, one of the kids got killed crossing over there, going through the speed trap. So, yes, it's a concern for safety. And the schools will get some money out of it now. They weren't getting it before. So that's, I think, a positive. But we'll see what happens in the Senate, whether they pass it or not. But that's the hot topic I wanted to bring up. I know there's a lot of pushback from some parts of the community. And then, of course, parents are pushing back to keep it. They want the kids to be safe. So that's the story there. And I'm sticking to it. But anyway, that's a lot of lobbying money. 700,000, 200 million statewide. That's a lot of money collected. And I know that helps the budget for, city services, but now the idea is that some of that money will go to the school district, which they also need the money, particularly with, potential cuts in the federal education department and grants coming down to localities, school districts, etc. That's what we're looking at. Well, you can catch the Roundup with Rodney and Rodney on the second Tuesdays. April, we may not have a show April. That's going to be a special edition April. So Roundup may not be on April the second Tuesday, which we would normally be. So follow us on Facebook and see when our next scheduled time would be, probably the second Thursday in May. Till then, we'll keep rounding them up.
Don't forget to check us out on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. Do you have show ideas or want to be on the show? Shoot us an email at blackmansroundtable@gmail.com. And please follow us on Facebook.